I'll take shorter. Good evening, folks.
My mic isn't even on.
Good.
New York for this. Okay, here we go. Oh.
It really was better when his mic was not on. We want to welcome everyone to this beautiful celebration of Stephen Jebediah Stearns.
No, Jane, that's not his middle name.
What?
No, his middle name is Jessica. Stephen Jessica Stearns.
Jessica Stearns.
Nice to see you, Steve.
I don't think that's it either.
No,
but
it's not.
It doesn't really matter. Legacy's a legacy. And that's what we're here to honor. Right. So the very first thing we'd like to do is...
well, yes. Well, I just want to say a few words, Stephen, before we begin. Stephen, well, my first show I saw it was when I was 12 years old, and my parents took me to see The Music Man. And since then, Stephen and I counted, have collaborated on, as teacher and student and actor, on over 40 projects together. I know, isn't that crazy? And, you know, there's only one thing that I can do to really honor you, Stephen, and that is to sing. Memory all alone in the moon.
No. There's one reason I was brought here tonight, and that's to
he
stop
wants to
this.
hear it. Please,
no
everybody else gets to sing.
No, Stephen, no. Believe me, no. We have a very important video from the governor of Vermont.
Really?
Yes, honest to God.
Isn't that the first thing?
I don't know. It's pretty blank to me. Let's see. I'd rather hear you sing.
One of the great privileges of being the governor of the best state in the nation is I get to honor people like Stephen Stearns. 18 years ago, he had a vision. And the vision was pretty simple. Let's bring theater to life for kids all over Windham County and all over Vermont. Let's make it part of their development, their future, and most importantly, build their self-confidence while we do it, to make sure that they know that regardless of where you come from or what your learning style is, you are going to take from this experience, whether you become an actor or not, you're going to take from this experience self-confidence that will follow you through your life. And that's exactly what he's done. I know that was my daughter's experience when she participated in a New England Youth Theater, and so many other kids that I've seen grow up in Windham County. So, you know, you got to ask, well, how does this guy come along 18 years ago and take this little idea that started in a basement of a congregational church and moved into the Chinese restaurant, the Jade Wah down there at the Latches, and now has this extraordinary facility, employs over 50 people, brings this magic alive for so many kids? How does this happen? I would argue, and this is, I don't know if Stephen talks about this, but I'm going to, you know, Stephen's dyslexic. So am I. Dyslexics see the world differently than the rest of you. We need to know what's going to come out at the end of the tunnel before we enter the tunnel. And that's the strength of a true leader like Stephen. He had a vision. A lot of folks probably thought it was a little nuts at the time. And now he has taken that vision and given hope, given self-confidence, given extraordinary experiences to kids throughout Windham County that will truly help them grow and make a difference in the world. So I just say to Stephen Stearns, along with the chorus of folks you're hearing from tonight, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a Vermont treasure, and we cannot thank you enough for all that you've given to all of us.
Well, that was the governor.
The governor.
The governor. I, for one, am shocked about this dyslexia information.
Shocked.
I feel that now is probably the best time for me to out myself as a non-dyslexic. And I think it's about time I started reading more.
I think so.
in honor of you,
I think
Stephen.
so.
I'm going to read a book.
I think so. Yes. A Tale of Two Cities.
That's
Does
heartfelt.
anybody have it? Let's read it now, I think.
Next
No,
up,
not now.
we have an oldie but a goodie, a friend from way back when.
You've got a friend in me.
not necessarily.
You got a friend in me.
No,
come
Tom.
on, let me sing
No,
one song.
Tom Pomeroy, ladies and gentlemen. Sit down. He's a tall man.
We just have to adjust the mic here.
We're just going to do that.
There you go. Hello.
Yeah, you just want to see how I do in your improv class. My name is Tom Pomeroy, and I'm delighted to be here as part of the joyous celebration honoring an old and dear friend, Stephen Stearns. I'm currently an advisor to the staff and the board of directors of NEYT, but that's not why I'm here tonight. I happen to know what Steve was like during his formative years, and perhaps you'd like me to put some of those into vivid exposition for you so you understand what kind of person we're really dealing with here tonight. I knew Stevie before he was Uncle Stevie. We grew up together, we played team sports together, we were in Gilbert and Sullivan operettas together. One of our first experiences with a team sport experience was on the football team. Stevie liked team sports. One of the things that he discovered was when he was running on the track team that it's really an ensemble experience. I mean, you've got sprinters and hurdlers and javelin throwers and shot putters. I mean, a whole disparate group of people have to come together and somehow pull something off as a team. One of the things he wasn't anticipating is the tenacity of some people that can run for very long distances, keeping the goal in sight, and knowing that they are not going to give up, ever. Ever heard of a 50-year marathon, a half century? Here's one. Jerry, we got one up here? This is Steve Stearns, lower right, and Dana Robes, upper left.
Oh, are we back in track? Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's Dana Robes upper
Yeah.
left, and
Yeah.
I'm lower right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, Dana's upper left.
yeah. Back, well, stage right, stage right.
I told you I'd have a few things here. One other thing you need to know about Stevie, he had a love for music. In addition to being part of Gilbert and Sullivan operettas, Stevie taught me how to play his favorite 6-string instrument, the guitar. And we actually succeeded in booking many gigs, several gigs, in Vermont, New Hampshire one summer. We played in venues that were tiny, but the audiences, on the other hand, were even smaller. However, as part of that singing, we also could do throwback. If you like the impossible harmony of barbershop quartets, I give you 1960, the Four Tenors. So Stevie and I have a history. So when he called me explaining what he had in mind for NEYT, and I was back here on a trip to the Upper Valley, he took me through an old abandoned garage and laid out his vision of what he thought a youth theater could be. As that dream came closer to reality, he called me up and said, we need some help, financial aid in building out the performance space, and I was happy to oblige. And then Steve, who was never bashful about picking up the phone, called and said, now we are going to do some capital expansion, and we need some more capital. And I said, Stevie, I've spent a lot of my time in Silicon Valley helping young, creatively driven industries and organizations achieve their goals. How about if I were to spend my intellectual capital, such as that might be, to help you guys figure out what was going on? And Stevie thought about it for a really long time and said, I'll call you back. Finally, he thought it'd be a good idea to invite me out to Brattleboro. I did. I met with the staff, and the deal was, if they thought that it was worth everybody's time to talk about how to grow this vision, then I could come back 3-4 times a year and help with it. The first meeting with the NEYT staff was a little awkward. I mean, what does a guy in a suit know about the theater? But it's a tribute to everybody that was part of those first meetings and everyone that followed, that we focused on what was important to NEYT and how it could succeed. One of the mantras that people are oft repeating is, it's about the kids, it's about the kids, it's about the kids. And I understood that as an important feature, but I didn't really begin to get it. I didn't get my aha moment until I think it was halfway between Hairspray and Urinetown. That I understood that the experience that they were imparting and what they were talking about wasn't how to teach kids to have a great experience using the theater. NEYT is, at its heart, a life school. I spent a lot of my career trying to figure out how to perform effortlessly, make it look easy, and if things didn't go the way I hoped they would, figure out how to deal with it. This is what everybody at NEYT learns. They have a life school. They have a huge advantage over anybody else that hasn't been part of this. I wish there had been a course like that when I got my Ivy League MBA. So here we are tonight, paying tribute, well-deserved tribute, to what's happened. But I think it's important for all of you to realize that without the dedication of the staff, its students, its board of directors, NEYT wouldn't be where it is right now. So a lot of new things have happened since I got that tour of the garage years ago. There is a new executive director, first ever. She's terrific and an accomplished person. There's a new board president at NEYT who, like her predecessor, is passionate about the NEYT experience and what it can do for kids. And then, of course, there's this first ever Trustee Emeritus, Stephen Stearns, who we're here to pay tribute to tonight. So I've discovered that NEYT, thank goodness, is a work in progress in the very best sense of that word. And I hope that it will always be that way. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom. I just wanted to, before we announce our, well, hold on one second. Oh, for the love of... So what? All right, here, we'll just tilt it. That's fine.
Never send a boy.
To do what? Your job? Yeah, you'd think. You'd think I had. Before I introduce the next one of our distinguished alumni, yes, that's you. I just want to reiterate something that Tom had said about the kids, and as one of those kids who went through the New England Youth Theater with Stephen, for someone who didn't really know what he was doing in life, thank you, Stephen, for giving me that focus. So I just wanted to say that, because that's what you did. So thank you. So up next, I think the only thing to say is, how can you thank someone who's brought you from crayons to perfume? Stephen, I love you. Cario Pereira Bailey.
Cario.
Hello. Hello. This one? Yeah. Hey, good evening. My name is Cario Pereira Bailey. Thanks, Taylor. Thank you. I wrote a couple things down because I was afraid I was going to forget everything, so bear with me. I started with NEYT back in 2001, I want to say, when I was visiting my dad one summer. And I was a shy, overweight kid with self-esteem issues, bouncing back and forth, struggling with divorced parents. And my first production that I saw at NEYT was, my cousin was in it, Jack and the Three Golden Hairs. Some of you may have heard of it. I think there's been a couple revivals since then. But it's wild. It's hard to describe the feeling that I very, very distinctly remember as a kid of 11 or 12 years old, watching a group of other 11 or 12-year-old kids standing fiercely, just bravely pouring out this story. And if I could sum it up into a few words, I'd probably say I was intimidated, curious, excited, and since then I've kind of put those three together to kind of mean inspired. Yeah, and it was too late at that point to enroll in any of the summer classes or camps, but it was a testament to that inspiration that a whole year later, when I came back to visit my dad the following summer, I was still hooked. I was determined to be on that stage, that Chinese restaurant, tiny stage. And my first production, 15 years ago, was a melodrama extravaganza called The Picture That Was Turned to the Wall. I think there's actually... Oh my God! Well, there you go. Was that so? Then was that 16 years ago? Oh God. Well, I blocked that year out. But for the next few years, every summer was spent at NEYT, and when it was time to go to high school, I was living in northern Vermont at the time with my mom, and when it was time to go to high school, I made the decision to move to Brattleboro full-time to live with my dad, but I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't a large part was to come to NEYT and be involved year-round to completely immerse myself. That was a huge part of why I actually moved to Brattleboro in the first place. And someone once told me that the only things that would hold me back from achieving my full potential as an artist, as an actor, would be fear and ignorance. And as we just realized, I'm still working on the ignorance part. But the fear, I can trace my relationship to fear very, very clearly back to Uncle Stevie. But not in the way you might think. The sheer nature of being an actor involves coming face-to-face, confronting fear on a daily basis. And as a, shy kid, as a teenage kid, in whatever acting class or whatever show I was doing, Stephen was always there to keep me from hiding. He wanted fearless actors and actresses. He demanded fearless actors and actresses. And I don't know if you know this, clowns are actually arguably the most vulnerable and exposed of us all. It sounds weird, but it's true, I think. And by bringing that background into his teaching and acting, he was helping to create, as we know, like a whole generation of collaborators, artists, and leaders, always with this eye on finding the joy in whatever the task. And many of us have now continued on to pursue acting after high school, into college, professionally. Some of us have decided to turn to other endeavors. But knowing that there's almost now 20 years of stories similar to my own, is so amazing, Stephen. Like we talked about legacy, you have created an incredible legacy that continues to ripple out and affect far more people than we could even dream about. There's a real beauty in knowing that the qualities and values instilled by you are now core principles of my life, not just in my art. And it's not that I don't feel fear anymore, obviously. It's that Stephen has taught me that very often that fear is masking the real juicy stuff, the inspiring, creative pools that are just too valuable to leave behind. He taught me that it's my job as an actor and as an artist to walk out from the base of the tree, to hang out on the thin, wobbly branches, and then to eventually leap from that tree and know that a net will appear. I am so honored, so very humbled to be here with everyone, this room full of people, to be here celebrating you, Stephen. I love you. Thank you.
I would just like to take this time to out myself as another person who's slightly afraid of Stephen.
Yes. Inspired fear in many.
First time I met Stephen, actually, very interesting story. First time I met him, I'd come to NEYT to direct something, and I kid you not, the question he sat down and asked me was, "What are your intentions?" Yeah. And I was like, "I'm gonna marry this place?" I wasn't sure, but he took my coming into the theater very seriously and very suspect, to make sure that I was there for the kids and not for the easy money. Draws everybody else in. So I guess I passed the test because I've done at least one thing there. And I might do another someday. Cario. That was beautiful. I sort of wish Stephen liked me so I could say something like that.
Not just scared.
But I do know somebody that does have a good relationship with Stephen. Stephen likes them.
Who, Jane?
I'm thinking of Peter Amidon.
Oh, yes, I write the songs that make
Nope.
the whole world sing. Stop. Just wants to hear it.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Great to be here. I'm gonna. So, Cario, thank you. Yeah, the Devil's Three Golden Hairs. Stephen called me up and says, "Hey, let's do a musical." I says, "Oh, I guess so. Sure, whatever." And so we had this folk tale, The Three Golden Hairs, and we got a bunch of very young children. Really young children, and they were like, I think it was like ages 8 to 12, I believe.
That's right.
12 children, ages 8 to 12, and I told them the story, and we hadn't written a thing, and then he started rehearsing, and I started playing the piano, and we only started writing at that moment, and as was mentioned before, we were both, I was terrified. It's actually, terror is not a bad motivation for writing music. It's actually pretty good. And but it was really amazing. And I have to say, this is a good chance actually to tell you, I've never really quite told you, Stephen. We wrote 4 musicals together and had pretty much the same system for all 4 of them. a lot of writing during rehearsing. And but I sitting there watching you direct the kids. I'm a storyteller partly in my work. I do a lot of storytelling with kids. I would after I'd do some of these rehearsals, I would go out and tell stories and say, "Whoa, what just happened?" All these things were happening in my storytelling, and I realized it was all the lessons I'd gotten from Stephen latently just by watching him lead kids. And also, I found myself just, you should all go home and write a song tonight. It's a good way to stay healthy. And here's how you write a song, I learned, because I didn't have time to really work on stuff. You don't like say, oh, here's a melody, but it's not quite right, and I gotta find the perfect little, no, you just get like whatever your first idea is, and you just work it. Because that's all I had time to do. That's all I had time to just get an idea and work it. And the working of it is really the beauty of it, and it only takes time, and a deadline really helps too. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is, but I want to thank you for that, because that's what I want to say. I want to thank you because actually that has profoundly affected my career as a composer and arranger. That work with you has profoundly affected in a very, very good way. So, but I want to talk about Shakespeare. Before Stephen and Peter came here, Shakespeare had been done in Brattleboro. It had been done. Sorry. But Stephen and Peter Gould did make the connection between Shakespeare and children, and teenagers and children, which is amazing. They found this amazing thing happening with Shakespeare and children. And I'm really sorry that Shakespeare couldn't have seen that, because maybe he did, I don't know, but if he was here, he would have just loved it. It was just fantastic. And and I'm really sorry that he couldn't come tonight. Anyway, so Shakespeare, so thank you guys for that. And the New England Youth Theater has kind of continued this amazing relationship. I'm just going to talk about Shakespeare particularly, about Shakespeare and children and other really great theater and children. So I've done a lot of research about Shakespeare, and mostly by watching Shakespeare in Love over and over again. And and it turns out that he spent a lot of time, with his actors going to the drinking every night after they did, as you know if you watch that movie. And so I thought, what could I do tonight but do a pub song based on Sonnet 18. So that's what I'm going to do. Now this has a chorus, of course, and I got to set up my stuff here, so you can chat for a second while I set this up. Okay. So, and I did rewrite it a little bit. Here it is, okay. I rewrote it a little bit for the occasion. So this is for Stephen and for Peter, who have done so much work with Shakespeare and children, so thank you. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more sunny.
More sunny.
Wow. I think I'm going to start that again. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more sunny. And when you lead kids in a Shakespeare play, you teach them to be heartbreakingly funny. Shakespeare, Shakespeare loves a good joke and a good pint of beer. Oh, William Shakespeare, we're glad you were there and we wish you were here. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and oft is his complexion gold turned down. Who would have thought that a pair of traveling mimes would, with Shakespeare's words and wit, would flood this town? Shakespeare, Shakespeare loves a good joke and a good pint of beer. Oh, William Shakespeare, we're glad you were there and we wish you were here. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of your smiles and tears. Smiles and tears. With this whole gang, you've a firm foundation laid that will last for days and weeks and months and years. Shakespeare, Shakespeare loves a good joke and a good pint of beer. Oh, William Shakespeare, we're glad you were there and we wish you were here. So long as eyes can see or men can breathe, so long lives our youth theater, I believe. Shakespeare, Shakespeare loves a good joke and a pint of good beer. Oh, William Shakespeare, we're glad you were there and we wish you were here. Shakespeare, Shakespeare loves a good joke and a good pint of beer. Oh, William Shakespeare, we're glad you were there and we wish you were here. Thank you.
Like a good old tune. Reminds me of the many pints of beer we had, Stephen. 13, 14-year-old after rehearsal, you'd say, come here, have some beer. That was good.
That never happened.
Never happened. No, never.
Never happened.
Never. We have a little announcement here for the people who bid on the silent auction. Pick up their stuff on the back table near the stairs.
You can only whisper. You can only
Well, I'm
whisper
out.
about it.
No, we can't go silent.
Yeah, but just whisper. Can't talk loudly.
Who's next?
Oh, I thought you knew.
No.
Somebody I think that you'd like to say a few words about, because I know that you've worked with her a lot more than I have.
Ah, yes.
Because
Miss
I
Kate.
don't have any voice qualities.
No. She doesn't like you either.
No, she doesn't.
No, I am. No, I'm pleased to
Hates me.
introduce Miss Keely Easley, of course. Who is gone? Oh, there she is, making.
I'm supposed to come up from this side.
Oh, making a grand entrance, and
That's a lovely dress.
Yes, you are lovely. Oh, we were going to stand with you. No.
You know, when I called this afternoon, I thought lots of people were going to be speaking. I didn't realize that I had sort of singled myself out here, but anyway. In 2000, when my family, my son and my husband and I moved to Brattleboro, my son was 6.5, and my husband at the time worked weekends in New York City. So my son and I didn't know anybody, and we were looking for things to do. We were going into the winter, which is an isolating time in Vermont. So I noticed there was a show happening, this little place called New England Youth Theatre. And it was the Fantastics. And so my 6.5-year-old son and I packed ourselves up and went, anticipating youth theater. And you know, being a theater person myself, I was quite delighted and amazed at the quality of youth theater this was. And afterwards, this man, this was in the old Chinese restaurant down on Main Street, and this man jumps up with his guitar and begins strumming as he's talking. And he's talking about, you know, if you have anything that you could contribute to us, whether it be money or your time or your talent, and he sings this song. And by the time he's done with this song, I'm in tears. And so he's got me right where he wants me, right in the palm of his hand, and he says, so if, you know, I think there were cards or something like that you could fill out, and if there's something you have that you would like to do to, you know, help our students and help us grow as an organization, please do. So I happen to be what is known as a Linklater designated voice teacher. That actually is something of repute in the theater training world. So I wrote it down and handed it in, knowing that this man was going to call. And he did. And he did. And it began what is now, that was literally the year 2000, and has began a very long and heartfelt association. So there are three things I really want to thank you for, Stephen. And one was inviting me into this family, which is NEYT. I think the only faculty member who preceded me was Rebecca Waxman, who's here somewhere. And of course, Peter. I also want to thank you for being the shameless self-promoter that you are. But the truth is it's never been about you. It's always been about what your vision of NEYT is and has become. And it has always been about these kids and the community that it creates and the safe place it creates and the vision that you hold for what theater brings, not only to the students who participate in it, but in the audiences that come and witness it. There was another thing I was going to thank you for. What was it? Oh, and for being the visionary that you are. Look, I know from several boards how that vision, they're sometimes trying to figure out how do we corral this horse. But both are needed. You had a vision of that space, that new space that we are in. And I remember walking over with the whole tribe of us and seeing it and going, this is not going to happen. And lots of people in town said, this is not going to happen. And you made it happen. It's your vision that makes it happen. So this is my little version. So there was this song that he sang. Anybody who's ever been around Stephen and his guitar is going to know this song. But this is my little version of it. Oh, the river is wide, I cannot cross o'er, we cannot cross o'er, neither do we have wings to fly. You built a boat that carries us all, and we all row. We love you so.
Well, there'll be handkerchiefs at the tables ready for you. What?
Nothing.
It's been a long day.
I know. Thank you, Keely.
Bless you. Bless you.
Bless you. You know, this reminds me.
What? What? I'm here.
The tears remind me of a place surrounded by water. An island.
An island.
May it be called St. Bart's or St. Bobby's, maybe even St. John's.
Maybe.
And I think somebody very special lives there.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a
No.
tale of a fateful trip that started from
No,
this tropic
it's the
port. Please, he
robes.
wants to hear it. He's standing.
No, he doesn't. It's the Robes and Johnny Flood and the always rapturous Rebecca Waxman are going to sing a song, I believe.
Why don't we just let them do it?
Well, I'm going to let them do it, all right. And I don't know what it is, but they're coming up. If we could, there
Clap,
she is.
clap, clap.
I contemplated inhabiting the roles of Martha and Danny. But Johnny felt that since we weren't at NEYT, that wasn't necessary. So.
If we were there, we'd be in full costume.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I'd have a turquoise shirt.
This is a more professional setting.
So we're not the Robes. We're just sharing their words with you. And for those of you, I would assume that most of you know who the Robes are, but they're longtime friends of Stephen's and of the theater. And much of what Stephen has envisioned has been possible with generosity like theirs. And they are very loving.
So this is a letter they wrote, and we'll just read it to you directly, Stephen.
Oh, my dear friend, where do we begin?
You have been a total inspiration to so many of Martha's and my actions and sharing. You have shown so much love and caring. You have been so devoted to your mission. Your reach of leadership can't be defined. What you and your team can accomplish in a week is beyond description. And we are not only talking about the performance, but rather the ability to help young people find their place, to show up, stand up, and speak up.
There was one young man who wouldn't focus and walked out of rehearsals right during specific sessions devoted to his part, and he wouldn't return. And you took him aside, went to his English teacher, got 2 specific books and started to read out loud to him, and then you would have him read as best he could back to you. You encouraged him and told him to take the books home and read some more that night. And to shorten the story, he had a solo singing part and he forgot the words to the last verse. And instead of walking off the stage with his head down, he sang la la la's in total character.
At the end of all the performances, you told us the greatest success of the whole show was that young man improvising. You said he showed up, he stood up, and he spoke up.
We feel that you have done what so many wish they could do, be a true mentor to all children, a true Uncle Stevie, that listens, shares, and understands. Now, most teachers feel blessed to see a small change in a few students. We can't imagine the number of students and people you've helped transform lives.
Your persistence and follow-up has no bounds. And I say that in the most positive way. You have helped us realize dreams for the programs you have created at Gift Hill School. You have truly made the school better in many ways. For those of you who are not familiar with NEYT's program on St. John, it includes up to 60% of the student body of this school in putting on some amazing productions that the community did not have before. The friendship that you, Bonnie, Martha, and I have grows with each time we are together. What you do to share your dreams resonates with our dreams. And through your vision, we've had more rewarding experiences than we could ever have imagined.
We love you, Stephen. And please let us continue to be a very small part of your dreams. Love,
Dana
and Martha. I did want to say one more thing, just as myself. Not that I was Martha in that moment, but you know. Okay, shade off, just me now. I want to echo a lot of what Keely said. I moved here by myself. I left my then husband in LA. My parents weren't here, and I didn't know a soul at that point, and I had nothing to do. And I saw an advertisement about what was happening, and I thought it was curious, and I thought I had given up the business. I was done. I had been living a peripatetic life, and I was ready to just be somewhere and stay still and leave the industry. And I thought, well, it's the only thing I know how to do so far. I'm going to learn how to do other things. I'm going to get certified as a teacher, and all that happened. But I thought, in the meantime, I would help some kids. And I think I thought I was doing you a favor. It has completely changed the course of my life. And as I wrote in the book to you, like so many of your students, and I'm going to guess so many of the adults in the room, you created a space and a culture where I could figure out who I was and figure out what I had to contribute and sort of become who I didn't know I was destined to be. And I cannot thank you enough for that. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
While I'm up here, Stephen, Rebecca said something I have to. Those of you who know me, my name's Johnny Flood. I'm from northern Vermont. I'm a disciple primarily of the Gould, of Gould and Stearns. And I found my way to NEYT a few years ago to work with Stephen on Shakespeare. But even before that, I met Stephen at a Gould and Stearns production at my high school, which was a rural, fairly poor community in rural northern Vermont. And knowing Peter, knowing Clown, I was deeply worried that all of my peers would be probably the worst audience imaginable. I'd seen them in class, I'd seen them outside of class, I knew these kids, and Clown was not exactly what they were looking for. But I have to say, within 2 minutes of that performance, all of the kids that I were tough and never eager to laugh at what adults were doing to try to make them laugh were rolling in the aisles. And as an educator, that is a gift. That is a real gift. And your ability to bring your gift to all sorts of children and to enrich all lives and empower a diverse array of families and communities is really beyond words, and it's impressive to see. So thanks for letting me work with you.
What? Nothing.
Got it.
Hello. So we have a special treat for you. This was going to be a surprise, but then the programs were printed. We would like to now welcome Stephen's brother, I believe. I think it's been proven.
I believe it's
I think
his
it's been
brother.
proven. Is his brother, Mr. John Stearns, to the.
He's tall.
Very tall. Here, I'll
You're a tall man. This is a tall man.
And he looks like Stephen too.
Really?
Good or bad?
Much more handsome. He's much more handsome, but he is shorter than I am.
No, I'm taller. Actually, looking like Stephen, my granddaughter told me last night after fluffing up my hair, she said I had Bernie hair. You have Bernie hair. Gee, this is a tough act to follow, I want to tell you. Maybe the Shakespeare song wasn't such a high bar, but, you know. You don't know me and I don't know you, and that's probably a good thing. Anyway, I too fear Stephen, by the way, being his younger brother and taller, and perhaps better looking. You know, there was an incident where I was using his favorite wooden bat to hit stones into the backyard, and he came along and dropped me with a right cross just as our father was coming out onto the deck. He got punished. That was good. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read this. I don't do this very much, as you can tell. My sister tossed, she tossed the idea my way that we should write a letter, and I did that, and then somehow this turned into this microphone, and so I'm going to try to read this, and I'll start with the family. So from a family perspective, we don't have anywhere near the knowledge needed to comment on Stevie, Steve's, Stevens, Dr. Stearns. We never know what to call him. It changes every couple of years. Many contributions to New England Youth Theatre, to Brattleboro, the arts in Vermont, the mime and clown communities. Is there such a thing? Yeah? Okay. The uptick in sales of red noses in Vermont and other activities we know little about. I mean, what the heck are he and Bonnie really doing, spending so much time in Russia, Central and South America, Europe, and other parts of the world? Has anyone taken a careful look at the financial books at New England Youth Theatre? I mean, what does a clown make these days, for God's sakes? Thank you to Bonnie for supporting him all these years. In any event, what we can comment on are the qualities that make Stevie great. There is his absolute lack of social filter, which allows him to jam a red ball on Governor Shumlin's nose at the Arts Awards event a couple of years ago, resulting in a surprise governor saying, "I didn't realize these balls were so small." Parenthetically, if I lived in Vermont, and I live in New Hampshire, I would have voted for him just for that comment alone. Want to turn off your cell phones? There is Stevie's amazing ability to be late for everything. Something that goes back to his early childhood when we constantly waited for him in the car at the top of the driveway for what seemed like forever, and a trait we can't imagine has been corrected in his dealings with NEYT. No. There are also many family tales of him wandering off to take a nap or a run just as Thanksgiving dinner started. Or showing up early, and that's in quotes, for family events, which in Stephen's time means an hour or two late. Yeah. This is a roast. Did he really show up for one family dinner firmly on Stephen time with a bag of frozen peas as his contribution to dinner? There is his absolute lack of self-shame. Someone has mentioned that already. I mean, was that him in a full clown outfit strolling along with the cows down the main street in Brattleboro? Or in a huge foam cowboy hat in the middle of the green, or on stage in Lebanon, New Hampshire? I mean, really, that's my town. People know me there. However, his biggest flaw is that he isn't taller than his younger brother. But seriously, what makes him truly great is a fantastic sense of humor, a curiosity that has no bounds, an understanding that the world around him is full of opportunities to help others, his commitment to youth throughout the world, and his long-standing partnership and friendship with Peter Gould, which has led them both to stages around the world, to the lawn of the White House, and into the hearts of thousands of charmed children and adults everywhere. The absolute paradox that is Stephen Stearns is that we sometimes forget that we saw him act in New York, perform Shakespeare at UVM, while at the same time seeing him ice his legs down to be able to perform in and win the UVM cakewalk as an undergraduate. Some of you will remember the cakewalk. It's a little too politically incorrect these days. Before thousands of screaming fans, we sometimes forget that while we've seen him do mime and clowning, we also know that he and Peter have done insightful political theater in The Peasant of El Salvador, written by Peter, around the world, and watched as he supported orphans in Russia through his association with Patch Adams. He's played guitar and uke with the likes of Pete Seeger, as well as his delighted 3- and 4-year-old nieces and nephews. Under the makeup, the sight gags, and the laughter, the Uncle Stevie that surfaces is Stephen Stearns, a man with depth, heart, and commitment, with or without the red nose. He has made us all proud before NEYT even existed. Add NEYT to his accomplishments, and we are in awe. You did good, brother.
And now Uncle Stephen's great Aunt Esther. There we are. Here she comes. Good. No.
I was thinking of having my sister talk when I retire. Totally rethinking that
I would not.
right about now.
You can all join us at the end of this program. Peter Amidon and John Stearns will be having a mud wrestle out in the back. Bring your cameras.
We're also taking bets on who is taller.
Who is taller? Who is taller?
I thought my 11 and 14-year-old were a little silly still arguing about that, but this is whole new level.
Whole
new level.
40 years later. So what's next?
I'd like to see a video.
I would.
I'd like
I
to
would
see a
too.
video from the Gift Hill School.
And Jerry's ready.
And Jerry's ready.
Good. All right. This is a video from the Gift Hill School in St. John.
Yes, correct.
Stevie.
Hey, Uncle Stevie. When I started making this video, I knew one thing. I don't know how to do video production. But I decided for you, I would try it out. I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go in because you've given us so much. you've taught us all how to find our inner clown and how to create something beautiful. And I think that the thing that we've created that is the prettiest and the most colorful is our community. NEYT has given me friends in Vermont, it's given me friends in St. John, it's given me a place in my community and a place in my school, and without you, this video wouldn't be happening because these kids wouldn't be together. I would not know who I was without theater, without you.
Thank you, Stephen, so much for forming NEYT and everything, because it's changed my life so much, and I will forever be grateful.
Thank you so much for being here. I really had a really fun time doing my first show, Like Leave Alone, in the upper campus, and it was a really fun thing to do.
Thank you for always making me smile.
Uncle Stevie, you are like the backbone of theater in our community. You are the rock that ties us together. You are the anchor that holds onto the boat. We love you, Uncle Stevie.
Uncle Stevie, you're such an awesome teacher, and I hope to be in a lot more plays with you in the future.
Oh man, Uncle Stevie, you have inspired me to be the best actor I could possibly be.
You're the reason I got into musical theater, or theater in general, actually.
Uncle Stevie, I want to thank you for convincing me to do the Godspell play way back when. I've made a bunch of good friends through the theater program.
I love you. You're amazing. Love you so much. Mwah!
Thank you for my friends.
And thank you so much for all that you've done for the school, for the theater program.
Thank you for pushing me so hard with the play that we recently did together.
Uncle Stevie, when I first started theater, it was kind of like we just did rehearsals and we put on performances, and it wasn't really that fun. But when you came and started doing Once Upon a Mattress here, it was my first play with you, it became a fun experience for me. And I really enjoyed it and I really loved it. And you really opened up my doors to everything that I've been doing since then. And I just want to say thank you.
That I am very, very thankful for everything you do for us here at NEYT, GHS's NEYT, and because of you, I felt confident on stage and like acting. I never really tried it before, but I was inspired by it.
I personally like to thank you, Uncle Stevie, for first of all being Uncle Stevie, and second of all for bringing NEYT down to the Virgin Islands so that other students, and not just myself, can enjoy theater and have a safe club of people who share something special.
Thank you, Uncle Stevie.
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 Thank you so much, Uncle Stevie.
Thank you, Uncle Stevie. Thank you, Uncle. Should we say it again?
Uncle Stevie, I remember the time you came down. No, I don't.
No. Anyway.
I don't remember.
Wait, but there is one thing we must do before we continue, because John touched on it for a second there. I think we all need to give a very big round of applause for the woman who stood by Uncle Stevie for how many years now?
Michelle Mima.
Michelle. No, but really, let's thank the wife, Bonnie Stearns.
Oh, Bonnie Stearns. Now, to celebrate that standing by, we have
Stephen, the divorce papers are in the mail. No.
That was the wrong time, Taylor.
Wrong time.
That was the wrong time to talk about that.
We'll find out later. We'll talk.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Stephen, if you need me, here's my card.
Taylor, shut it.
No, okay.
to celebrate now the closeness of Stephen and Bonnie and Michelle, we'd like to bring up two singers who stand impossibly close, Miss Christine Almaima and Miss K.C. Greenleaf.
Hi everyone, thank you guys so much for coming out to support Stephen this evening. This is a wonderful night for all of us, I think. And I just want to say a couple things. First, I'm Casey, and this is Christina.
Yeah, hi, I'm Christina.
And people have touched on it, but I just really want to thank you for the community that you've created. Sort of seems trivial now to say it again, but you have created for me and for all of us that have come through the theater. You've created friendship, and you've created relationships both with each other and with adults that have been incredibly important to all of us and have seen us through a lot of stuff. And I just want to reiterate that and thank you for that. So we're going to sing you a song.
If we stood on our tiptoes, we could peek over the sill, and once in a while we would see a girl slowly walking up the hill, and we'd think, what a sad situation to be outside on your own, to go through the town with no playmate, to go through life all alone. I will never leave you, I will never go away. We were meant to share each moment, beside you is where I will stay. Evermore and always we'll be one though we're two, for I will never leave you. When the day is filled with shadows that stretch into the night, I am filled with your sweet comfort, like morning filled with light. I will never leave you, I will never go away. We were meant to share each moment, beside you is where I will stay. Evermore and always we'll be one though we're two, for I will never leave you. No, I will never leave you. No, I will never leave you. I will never go away. We were meant to share each moment, beside you is where I will stay. I will stay. Evermore and always we'll be one though we're two. One though we're two, for I will never, I will never, I will never leave you.
They were all right.
They were not bad, not bad.
Yeah. I also sing that song with Taylor.
Yes.
But I won't right now.
No.
Because we're running a little late.
Little late. So
Yeah.
now.
Are you reading?
Are you reading?
Dory? What do you got?
Oh, are we
just-
boring you, Dory?
She's reading.
Oh, I see. I
Is
see.
if there's
Nice
something
to
you
see
need
you,
to
Dory.
read, why don't you read it
Nice to
aloud?
see you. Why don't you have enough candy for the group? No, okay. That's fine. Thank
Peter,
you,
Thank
Dory.
you.
wanna
We
do
weren't
this?
sure what was happening. That's
Yeah.
where you're stalling.
Okay. So,
yes. We'd like to introduce the very talented and I would have to say
better half, really.
Well, the smaller half,
Smaller, yes.
shorter half of the Gould and Stearns team. Mr. Peter
Gould, I think it is. Yep.
And this I would let you sing a brief song to introduce.
Send in
That's
the
enough.
clowns.
Thank you. Hello. It's an honor to be here tonight to speak. I was actually surprised when I was asked to be the final speaker and the person to introduce Stephen, because I'm not really very used to giving speeches. But I was just thinking, you know, it would be extremely hard for me to think about what my life would be if Stephen and I had never met. We started to work out together in 1978, and then on one of my many trips to Latin America, I got sick, and I was lying around thinking, well, maybe that big solo clown and mime show, which I wanted to do at the old BCPA, Brattleboro Center for the Performing Arts. I felt that the time started to come, and I was not really up for it, and so I decided not to do it. And then Stephen stepped in, and he decided, well, since Peter's not going to do the show, maybe I'll just book the theater for myself. And suddenly, 1980 in the spring, Stephen was hit by this burst of inspiration, peace, and love. And he asked me to do a show with him. He had booked the theater, and he knew I had wanted to be in it. And so he knew that I wanted to do the show too. So he said, let's share the stage, and let's start our act together. And we were wondering what to call ourselves. Stearns and Gould didn't sound good. But Gould and Stearns sounded so Shakespearean. And so we started, to rehearse, and then we started to perform. And the show was sold out. And so we did it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And Stephen and I have just closed our Gould and Stearns bank account a few days ago. There was $100 left in it. I still have your share. Okay, I'll give it to you later. And that was an account that Bonnie and Stephen and I ran. Millions of dollars went through there. Where are they now? Stephen and I've computed, we have traveled about 2 million miles together. We've done about 3,500, 3,700, 3,900 shows. We lost count along the way. We've logged thousands of hours sitting in the front seat of a small car. We said just about everything that needed to be said, that could be said, and we said it over and over again, too. And Stephen was actually not the easiest person in the world to tour with, I have to say. Sometimes I'd be loading the car, and I didn't know where Stephen was, and I would look around, and he would be talking to somebody. And Stephen is the only person in the world who does this. He absolutely makes you feel, when you are talking to him, like you're the most important person in the universe, right? Mm-hmm. And he's really into you, and everything else gets shut out completely, you know? And so that's his power. It's his strength. And we had done our 3,735th show we were driving home from St. Albans, and I can still remember the spot on the highway where this happened, because I've been there since then. And I turned to Stephen and said, you know, I'm going to go back to college. I want to get a PhD. Because actually, I had dreams. You know, I had books to write and things to learn. And Stephen and I sort of both looked at each other in the front seat, which was actually a shame because, you know, one of us was driving. And we realized that Gould and Stearns was a vessel. It was this bucket that was, well, it was no longer large enough, right? I mean, there was not enough room in this pail for Stephen to pour all his energy in. Also not enough room for me to pour in all my hopes and dreams. And so Stephen said, well, what's this mean? I said, well, it means that we'll be doing fewer shows now. And he said, well, what'll I do? We were already doing what he needed to do, which was to work with kids on Shakespeare. We were two people who found out that you can make a living here in Vermont in theater, but you'd have to do three things if you are. First thing, you have to travel. You can't do it all here. The second thing you have to do is you have to have a Christmas show. And the third thing that you have to do is you got to do Shakespeare with kids. So we were already doing that. So Stephen said, I'm going to do youth theater now, not just in the summer, but all year long. And it was not going to be that hard for Stephen to do it. I mean, let's face it, there are youth theaters everywhere, right? But there's only one Stephen Stearns. There's only one youth theater which is founded by Stephen Stearns. And in that last year that we toured together, we were really tired. You know, I drove most of the time. Stephen would fall asleep in the front seat, or he would say, would you mind if I listened to some tapes? I said, no, that was fine. So for hundreds of hours, we listened to Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, Stephen Covey, Think and Grow Rich, 7 Habits of Successful People, How to Dress for Success. Did we really do that? No, I think we skipped that one. And I know that all those people, you know, who write these lectures, they would not be able to sit together in the same room because one person says this and the other person says that and the other person says something else. But they would all agree on one thing, that nobody in the history of the planet had ever synthesized what they were teaching better than Stephen Stearns did. He just took all that stuff in and he realized, I have to have a master group. I have to do this. I have to have a 5-year plan. I have to have a 10-year plan. You know, I have to have all the habits of highly successful people, which he did get. So we decided that it was time, where am I going with this? He founded this theater, and you know, I can't imagine what my life would be if I hadn't done about 30 plays in this theater, had such a wonderful time doing it. He's a wonderful person, but it was not that hard for us to figure out what it was we were going to teach in this theater. Because as we traveled all over the place, we met these wonderful teachers. We studied with them. We took seminars and workshops. From Tony Montanaro, we learned framing and focus and projectional shelf. We learned also escalation to a payoff. We learned discovery. We learned breadth. Benny Reel, he taught us, don't worry about being the absolute best in your field. Worry about being the only. From Avner the Eccentric, who directed us for years, we learned REMS, risk, energy, and momentum. Oh, not REMS, J. joy. We have to show that on stage. From Daniel Stein, we learned, look without doing and do without looking, et cetera, et cetera. So there was so much that we already know could be taught. And what I brought to the theater was this gesture, which I want you all to do, okay? It's like this, all right? Like that. This is a gesture. It's a y-axis. It's an x-axis. And it means dividing the page into 4. And the 4 things on this page are heart, mind, body, and voice. And we work hard at this theater to push everybody who comes here to study each time that we're with them to improve and to grow and to expand with their heart, their mind, and their body, and their voice. Another thing I brought to this theater is the idea that I can see this virtual X. Okay, everybody do this with me, okay? Grab a street chalk, okay? Just hold it in your hand. And then reach out and make that X on the floor. Do it like that. And throw it away. That X is the center of the universe. And it's your job when you direct kids to make them feel that this place, where they're in, this room, this stage, this straw room or Luna room, Rose room or any other room is the most important place. In fact, it's the center of the universe. And they wouldn't want to be anywhere else but right there, right then. Okay, you got that? For the record, I just want to say that, this X that we've just put here is the center of the universe, and I would not want to be anywhere else right now at this moment, having been asked to take up this wonderful honor to introduce to you the founder and the inspiration for this youth theater, Dr. Oh, and he's my friend too, okay? Dr. Stephen J. Stearns. Stephen, we know you're hiding somewhere. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Here we are at the Chalet, which I used to come to when I was a kid, right? Long ago. Back then, when I used to come here as a kid, there was this machine that was there, which I always used to love to play. But it's still here. This is so cool. Got to plug it in. Yeah, they fixed it all up and they oiled it. I think it still works. Believe me, it's been here a long time.
Howdy, buckaroo! So, you think you can outdraw me? Put in a quarter and see. Howdy, buckaroo! So, you think you can outdraw me? Put in a quarter and see. Howdy, buckaroo! So, you think you can outdraw me? Put in a quarter and see. Howdy, you think you can outdraw me? Oh. Pick up the gun in my boot, and on the count of 3, we'll shoot. 1, 2, 3. Howdy, buckaroo. So you think you can outdraw me? Put in a quarter and see. Howdy, book and seal. You think you can outdraw me? Pick up the gun in my boot. On the count of 3, we'll shoot. 1, 2, 3. Howdy, buckaroo. So you think you can outdraw me? Put in the corridor and see. I can see. You think you can outdraw me? Pick up the gun in my boot on the count of 3. We'll shoot. 1, a teeth, 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 3. Howdy, buckaroo. So you think you can outdraw me? Put in a good. So you think you can outdraw me? Pick up the gun in my boot on the count of 3. We'll shoot. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What about 3?
Howdy, buckaroo. So you think you can outdraw? Please. ¿Tú crees que puedes vencer? Recoge la pistola a mis pies. Tenemos en cuenta de 3. 1, 2, 3. Du und drei, Cowboy, each in his hand. 1, 2, 3, Achtung! Howdy, buckaroo. So you think you can outdraw? You think you can outdraw me? Pick up the gun at my boot on the count of 3. We'll shoot. 1, 2.
Go on, make my day.
Can you imagine doing that 3,000 times? Never winning.
We actually didn't do a sound check because there was so much going on that so I'm not sure whether the guitar is going to be overpowering. I can play it softly, but I'm just going to sing one note because then I want to say something. Is there a balance, or does the guitar need to be less, or more or less? Okay, all right. Okay, good. Good, good. All right. Well, I feel... I'm very grateful, and I feel thoroughly roasted. This is a fabulous honor. I wrote about a 35-page speech to give to you, celebrating you, but I knew you would fall asleep at that and you wouldn't want to hear it, so instead I'm going to do a song for you that says what I feel about you. But before I do that, I wanted to acknowledge my longtime partner, Peter. They're outside of my immediate family. There is no one, which obviously includes my siblings and mom and dad who are long gone, and nieces and nephews and grandchildren and all of that. But outside of that, there is absolutely no person on the planet that has been as important to me as Peter has been as influential to me as Peter has. I thank my lucky stars the day I met him in 1976 at the Brattleboro dump. And then, by accident, ended up studying with Tony Montanaro with him in 1978, and then we worked together. And then I absolutely did have this overwhelming rush of love in seeing him dance in a line dance in the basement of the Center Congregational Church, being led by the Brothers of the Western Priory, and I just thought, no, I'm simply not going to do the BCPA as a solo performer. I'm going to ask him to join me. And he, as I recall, didn't skip a beat. He said yes. Why has he been so influential? Well, certainly, I am not an easy person to live with. I really grew up in fear. I was a dyslexic. I was teased. At one point, in I think my freshman year in high school, I was lured into a place by myself, and 8 fellows jumped me and held me down and beat me for about a half an hour. And I had a lot of hate in my blood and a lot of revenge in my heart. And when I was 35, I met a man who changed my life. His name was John Hart, and he asked all of us, what do you really want, and are you willing to pay the price? And I didn't know quite what that meant, but it meant forgiving. It meant forgiving all the kinds of things. And he said, you know, there are lovers and haters and givers and takers. And he didn't have to tell me that I was, by and large, a taker at that point. At age 35, I'd done things. I'd been nice and kind in various ways, but I was a taker, and I was a hater. I had a lot of anger. And when I met Peter, he was the most honest, clear, unselfish, generous, forgiving person that I'd ever met. And I thought, I want to be like him. But I couldn't be right away. It was way too much for me to absorb. And I do have this absolute, it is a disability, absolutely, that I can so decompartmentalize, or I say compartmentalize and focus, that I can, shut out everything. The first time Rebecca Waxman and I worked together, actually together, the kids were going everywhere, and I obviously must have been very unprepared. I'm sure I wasn't up to the snuff, but I was doing the best I can in those days and whatever. And she came up to me and she said, I'm going up to your office. This is bizarre. I cannot work in conditions like this. This is absolutely nuts. I can't understand how you can possibly do it. I'm going. And she walked out. And all I had to say was, I know that's true because I remember in 1978, no, I guess it actually was 1983, that's right, because at that point, I'd made friends with Pete Seeger, which is another story I might touch just briefly on, but I'd met him and Toshi, and Toshi had said, okay, I want you to set up all the performers all over the festival, bring them from all over the country, all the people you know, and take care of that. And so I'm in the workshop with Tony Montanaro. There's 16 people. We're working. We're doing mime stuff. And like the phone rings and somebody comes over and says, Stephen, Stephen. And I go over to the door. There was just a payphone at that time. It was by the door. And I went, oh, who is this? It's Toshi Seeger. She sounds like you. She must talk to you now. So I went over. What is it, Toshi? And she said, you've got to sort out these people and these contracts, whatever else. And I ended up just talking to her and was trying to solve her problems. And I was obviously talking about as loud as I am now, and Tony Montanaro just was like, and being the guy that he was, he just went. The entire, Tony plus the other 15 people gathered around me this close, and they just were there. And I was oblivious. I had no idea they were there. All 16 of them like this. And of course they took a huge breath and went, boo! And I went, what? I mean, I was so embarrassed. I mean, I could have shot myself right there or dug a hole all the way into Dante's Inferno. I mean, it was just, And that's my blessing and it's my curse. So there's lots of time, you know, but I do want every one of you to know how important you are to me. And I don't want to do drive-by handshakes and go, yeah, it's nice to see you too. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and you too. And you know that I could care less about you. I don't have time for you. And the same with the children. I want to take a knee. I want to say, who are you? Where are you going? How did you get here? And all that sort of stuff. So Peter taught me to say, I'm sorry. I never had said I'm sorry before, really. And he taught me to do that. He taught me to forgive. He taught me to be patient. He taught me a certain way of loving. And I wanted to be part of his world, and he became part of mine. And we became soulmates in many ways. So he gave a tribute to me, and without him, I wouldn't be here tonight. The youth theater would never have existed, and so on and so on. So anyway, that's just to say, every once in a while, you meet an amazing person. Isn't it rich? Isn't it weird? And isn't it queer? You with your feet on the ground, me in midair. But where are the clowns? There ought to be clowns. Now let's be perfectly honest. It has definitely not always been easy. There were times I completely expected the children in the Chinese restaurant kitchen to fall through the floor all the way down to the basement, and it was perfectly possible, since there were holes everywhere. In fact, the government came in and shut us down the day before As You Like It, and they said, you cannot work with these children here. The firemen will fall through the floor. They gave me 6 things to do in one night, and people showed up. Donnie Dompierre showed up and started at 5 at night, and he ended at 6 in the morning, and he rewired the entire place, the panel and everything. I said, I can't afford it. He said, don't worry, it's free. On and on and on and on like that. My worst fear was all the parents were going to pull their children out. Particularly because the old Chinese restaurant smelled like a brewery. It smelled like we were brewing beer, and we were brewing beer. That is to say, my friend Spiro Latchis was brewing beer. One woman came up to me and she said, I'm pulling my child out. You're a danger to children. And I said, you're right. And she pulled her kid out. Well, I'm in danger to so many of you. I mean, think of all the children that I've sent into a life of poverty. It's a disaster. It's not always been bliss. Did you approve? Me always tearing around till I can't move. But where are the clowns? There ought to be clowns. Well, I wanted to start a youth theater. When I came to Vermont, I intended to start one in 1975. That was my dream. I was going to do it. And then Gould and Stearns happened, and thank God that did, because I learned so much in those years of touring. It's been an amazing journey that way, and then a quarter of a century later, I decided it's now or never. Go for it. You got to do it. You got to do it now. Do it. Just when I stopped opening doors, finally knowing the one that I wanted was yours. I mean yours and yours and yours and yours. Making my entrance again with my usual flair, unsure of my lines. Nobody was. Wait a minute. You were all there. Isn't it weird? Seems we all wanted the same dream. How lucky, my dears. But where are the clowns? I needed some clowns. I was desperate for clowns. Then I thought, wait a minute. Leap, and the clowns will appear. And you appeared, and you're all here. You all appeared, and you stuck with me here. Joy, sorrow, and drear, toil of sweat and tears. You are all here, you've been with me here. And I love you, my dears. I love you, my dears. Yes, I love you, my dears. Pete Seeger. Peter wrote A Peasant of El Salvador, about a half-hour version of it, the year after Monsenor Romero was murdered, and he asked me to come in as a soldier at the end and shoot him. And I went to Shorty Ferret and I got a pistol and I got some blanks from Brown and Roberts, and I mean from Sam's, and
right. I said, Stephen, make sure they're blanks.
And by the time I was going to come in and shoot him, I didn't want to. I just thought, wait a minute, I can't shoot this peasant. I'm in love with the guy. He's just an amazing fellow. But I did that. And it just so happened that I was going to see a Pete Seeger concert the next week. So I waited until midnight and I barged into his dressing room after everybody had left, and he was very friendly, and I said, my partners have written this play, and he said, oh, that's very interesting, because I would like you to do it at our festival. And I said, well, and it wasn't a play at all at that point. He said, is it ready? Is it a play? I said, yeah, it's a play, sure, yes. Definitely. We'll just get a director and we'll do it. And so long story made interminable, called up my friend Paul Nelson, who had inspired me ever since 1975 when I got here, and I said, Paul, hey, would you be willing to work with Peter and me on this play? And he did, and we performed it at the festival. And Pete came up afterwards and he said, that was magnificent and moving, and Toshi came up and said,
it was 3 minutes too long and your car's parked in the wrong place. And I had just like put my life out there. Everything. I'd bared my soul. I couldn't believe it.
And that was Toshi Seeger for us.
Because she was in charge, right, of the whole festival.
And she was in charge, except that the final act on the red stage, which we had performed for about 2,000 people.
In June of 1982.
And the Paul Winters Consort was the last act on the red stage. And they played and played, and the audience from everywhere gathered. There were no other stages.
All the other stages winked out, you know, and there's Toshi saying, okay, the festival is over. Everybody should walk down the one-way bridge and get in your cars and go. And all of the thousands of people who were still left at the festival didn't want to leave, and they just squeezed there on that hill to watch Pete and Paul Winter play and sing.
And Pete said, hey, I got this new song I want to teach to everybody. Of course, we all went, yeah, great. And it went something like this. We never forget it because we were both there. It was getting dark, and we all sang it with
tune first.
Okay, go ahead, and Peter will line it up. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shores, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try, to show my rainbow race, it's too soon to die. We'll line it out for you. We'd love for you to sing it with us.
Gotta sing along.
Okay, it's one blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore. So earth so green and round,
one earth so green and round.
Who could ask for more?
Who could ask for more?
And because I love you,
and because I love you,
give it one more try.
I'll give it one more try.
To show my rainbow race.
To show my rainbow race.
It's too soon to die.
It's too soon to die.
Some
people live like an ostrich, bury their heads in the sand. Some hold these plastic dreams,
can unclench all those greedy hands. Go tell all the little children, tell all the mothers and fathers too. Now we've got a chance to teach what's been given to me and you.
Got it. Thank you, Stephen.
You want to do that? You want to do that right? It's a new verse,
it's
Peter.
okay.
Road.
Moving along.
We've got a good chance to learn what's been given to me and you. One blue
Sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shores, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race it's too soon to die. This is my friend Stephen.
This is my friend Peter.
We've never stopped believing we can make a life in theater. We'll keep on doing what we're doing, teaching children big and small. Our most important lesson, all for one and one for all.
Everybody sing, one blue eye above us, ocean lapping all our shores. Earth so green and round, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? Because I love you, and because I love you, give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die.
This is my friend Stephen.
Long time, my friend Peter.
We've never stopped believing we can make a life in theater. We'll just doing what we're doing, teaching children big or small. Our most important lesson, all for one and one for all. Thank you, everybody.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks, everybody.
Let's meet up at the bar now, okay?
Celebrating with us. We really are grateful and appreciate you so much for everything you are and everything you do. Good night now. Good night.